Hamad Kuf Samaches Sif Hey. So let's give a summary of what we spoke until now.
Right.
What is the machlekes, the famous machlekes in Zmanim between Rabbeinu Tam and the Go'inim? There are two Gemaras that seemingly are a contradiction, a stira to each other. There's a Gemara in Shabbos which says Mishatishka Achama, from Shkia ad until Gimel Kechavim Beinanim come out, it's Bein Hashmashas. Bein Hashmashas at the time, it's Safek Yoim, Safek Laila. How long is Bein Hashmashas period of time in Eretz Yisrael? The Zmanim in Gemara are based on Eretz Yisrael. The Zman is, the Gemara says, 3/4 of a mil. A mil is the distance it takes to walk 2,000 amas. A mil is 2,000 amas. 3/4 of a mil, that's the time of how long Bein Hashmashas is, which is either 18 minutes if we calculate a mil as being 24 minutes,
Or 22 minutes.
or 13 and a half minutes if you calculate based on an 18-minute mil. If you say a mil takes 18 minutes to walk,
To walk.
to walk,
Right, so 3/4 of it.
3/4 is
13 minutes, 13 and a half minutes.
Now, it's not such a long period of time,
Right.
but this is from Mishatishka Chama until Gimel Kechavim Bein. The problem over here is it seems that from Shkia until Gimel Kechavim Bein and Seisa Kechavim is only 3/4 of a mil. It's a small
Very
period of
short,
time.
very short.
We have a Gemara in Pesachim, which is a general discussion. The Gemara in Pesachim comes out something very different. The Gemara in Pesachim says that from Shkia until Seisa Kechavim is a period of time that it takes to walk 4 mil. Very large amount of time.
Double the time.
Much more than double, right? From 3/4 of a mil
To
to 4 mil.
4 times more than 4 times.
More than 5 times more, yeah. Yeah.
So if we say 18 minute time 4,
So if we do 18 minutes, let's say, 18 minutes times 4, 72 minutes after Shkia,
that's the Rabbeinu
Seisa
Tam.
Kechavim. So the shaila is over here, how do we deal with this stira?
Right.
One Gemara is saying from Shkia to Seisa Kechavim is 4 mil,
Either
4 mil,
right?
which is like 72 minutes.
And one
And
says
one is saying is,
3/4.
it's 3/4 of a mil till Seisa Kechavim. So Rabbeinu Tam was brought in Tosfos over there in Shabbos and in Pesachim. He gives an answer to explain like this: there is 2 shkias in Chazal. When it says shkia in Gemara and Pesachim, and it says shkia in Shabbos, it's 2 different shkias. The shkia that we always refer to as shkia is what it says in Gemara and Pesachim.
Shkia Rishona.
From there until it says Kechavim, it takes 4 minutes. The shkia that's mentioned in Shabbos is a different shkia. It's a second shkia later on, much closer to Tzeis Kechavim time. And from that shkia until Tzeis is 3/4 of a mil. Be'ena Chanami, from the first shkia, which is what we always call shkia Sachama, that's taka 4 mil. And Itaka points out that the lashon is in the Gemara and Shabbos is different than Pesachim. It says Misha Tishke. It doesn't say Shkia Sachama, Misha Tishke. It says this lashon Misha Tishke refers to the second Shkia. This is the way he resolves the contradiction between the two Gemaras. So according to Rabbeinu Tam Shita, from Shkia until Misha Tishke, it's 100% day. Hapi halacha. For all matters, it's Yoim. For Shabbos, it's Yoim. You could do malacha. For a bris milah, the baby's going to be born on Friday. All issues that have to do with Yom, you can put on tefillin, all dinim, b'ol shayfer, everything until the second shkia, because it's not night at all. It's not night at all. The first shkia doesn't have any effect in halacha. It's the second shkia, which is the important shkia, mishatishke. And from that shkia until Tzeis Kechavim is 3/4 of a mil, which means if we go with 72 minutes, right? That from Shkia to Tzeis Kichavim 72 minutes, because 4 mil times 18. 72. Now, Rabbeinu Tam is going with the opinion that every mil is 18 minutes takes to walk. How much is 3/4 of a mil? 13.5 minutes. Which means 13.5 minutes before Tzeis Kichavim is the Bein HaShemashas period in Eretz Yisrael. That comes out to 58.5 minutes after Shkia. After our Shkia, you have kimat an hour to do malacha, everything you want. It's yoim, it's a choil, until Misha Tishke, the second Shkia, the Shkia Shnia. That is when Bein HaShemashas starts. This is a big kula for Erev Shabbos, but a big chumrah for Meitzai Shabbos. Meitzai Shabbos comes out much later.
And a fast day also.
Right? Now, that's the Shita of Rabbeinu Tam, how he dealt with the contradiction between these two Gemaras. Have we find already that one of the early Svardische Poiskim, Ramesha Alshkar, who lived in the times of the Beis Yosef, he already records in his Chuvas, when he discussed the Shaila, that the halach is not like Rabbeinu Tam, and because he says that many of the Geonim who preceded the Rishonim, we find that many of the Geonim, he quotes languages from the Geonim which we didn't have, Rabbeinu Tam might have not even seen. He probably didn't see. But he quotes different Shuvas of Geonim, which say, they don't explain the contradiction, but in Shabbos, when it comes to the Gemara in Shabbos, they explain that as soon as it's Shkia, right after Shkia starts Bein HaShemashas. Not
the second
an hour later.
Not the second Shkia.
Right away.
The first Shkia.
Right after Shkia. This is still doesn't help us to resolve this contradiction. Because how do we deal with the stira? According to that, comes out Tzeis Kichavim is very soon after, let's say it's 18 minutes.
Shkia, exactly.
Right? Mashein Kain and Gemara Pesachim says it's 4 mil. So it's a very, how do they resolve it?
Right.
He doesn't discuss that. But he brings up from many Makoris that the halach is not like a Rabbeinu Tam, and that the Geonim, who the halach is like the Geonim over the Rishonim, if a Rishon didn't know the words of the Geonim, so that, and he's talking about a Tshuva, not about Shabbos, he's talking about Bris Milah, a baby which is born. When do we have the Shkia?
To make the bris.
When to make the bris. It's very important every single, during the week, it's also important for Shabbos.
Right.
We have iced coffee, Shmulik.
No, thank you. I bought tea. Special
Sunday,
tea.
I put in the fridge.
Special tea.
So Lamaisa,
Right.
there are other Svarim which bring up how can we resolve the contradiction between these Gemaras, the Stira, according to the Shita of the Geonim, what became known as the Shita of the Geonim. There are other Rishonim that held that way too, but it became known as the Shita of the Geonim. So the way the Maharal brings it, the Maharal's Chidushim and Shabbos were published only about 100 years ago. We never had it. It was found in a library. The Alter Rebbe also mentions it. So 2-3 Achronim bring up, explain how will the Geonim deal with the contradiction. And the way it explains like this. There is 2 Tzeis HaKichavim, it's not 2 Shkiyas. There's 2 Tzeis HaKichavim. Shkia is only 1 Shkia. The Shkia in Pesachim and the Shkia in Shabbos, Mishatishke, are both one and the same. Bein HaShemashas starts right after Shkia. In Gemara Shabbos it says after 3/4 of a mil, you right away come to Tzeis HaKichavim, Tzeis Gimel Kichavim, Bein, 3 medium stars, which that's what you need for Shabbos. On the other hand, Pesachim it says it takes 4 mil. They say Pashat. The Gemara in Shabbos says, when is 3 medium-sized stars seen in the sky? When do they appear? That's 3/4 of a mil afterwards, and that's when it's night, Laila. The Gemara in Pesachim is discussing when do we see all the stars in the sky? When are all stars in the sky visible? Even the smallest stars, when are they visible? After the distance it takes to walk 4 mil, 72 minutes after Shkia. says kol hakichavim, not says gimel kichavim, says kol hakichavim. Now, it's not really in the Gela halacha, right? But that's a discussion in Gemara Pesachim about nature.
Okay.
But for all purposes and halacha purposes, after you see 3 medium-sized stars, it's night for Shabbos, for Bris Milah, for all issues pertaining to nightfall. Whatever you need to have night, it's night. For all halachas that have to do with night. So L'maisa, that is basically the machlokes between the Goyim and the Tam. How does this come up all over here? Over here, Be'emes, in this simin, Alter Rebbe and Reisa Machal Allah, the Shulchan Aruch, is not coming here to really talk to us about Zmanim. We really want to tell you like this. There is a mitzvah of adding, being Moisef Mechoil al Kodesh, to add Zman. When is the time that we're supposed to add Zman? Well, it depends which shita you go like, right?
When to start the shkia.
When to start to add. According to the Go'inu, let's say, as soon as it hits Shkia, right away is Ben Hashmashis. It's not, you have to stop from Malacha because the Safik Deraisa, maybe it's Shabbos, Safik Manatayr. When the Torah told us to add, it's before that time. The mitzvah to add. Mitzvah's essay to add. However, according to the Rabbeinu Tam,
you didn't start
only after Shkia, you don't have to add before Shkia. After Shkia, you have a whole long period of time to add until the second Shkia. 58.5 minutes. Longer period. Now remember the Shulchan Aruch and the Alter Rebbe followed, which also seems to be the way the Beis Yosef, the Mechaber and Shulchan Aruch and the Magen Avraham, the Achronim seem to follow, that they're all following the Shita Rabbeinu Tam. It was only later on in life when the Alter Rebbe changed. So now we're going to read inside the Shulchan Aruch, but it's all the Shita of Rabbeinu Tam.
So what happened people that hold from Rabbeinu Tam before Rabbeinu Tam? What they did? What do we do? No Rabbeinu Tam.
the total minute.
The argument was probably always existed. Like it's a shaila about Rashi and Rabbeinu Tam tefillin. You know, we say Rashi machlokes at Seder Parsha. So what did they do before Rashi and Tam? It was also machlokes, right? But it became known as the machlokes Rashi and Tam. When did it become official, the machlokes?
No, it's easy.
That's one way of explaining it.
It's easier to understand this thing than it is to understand other machlokot, because this particular thing about Sefer Chachamim, how Rabbeinu Tam interpreted it, it's very easy to understand that Rabbeinu Tam lived in France. He never saw what the Mitziyut is in Eretz Yisrael or in the Middle East. So he just invented this shita based upon trying to interpret the text.
Well, they say actually something very fascinating. They say very fascinating that the Beis Yosef, the Mechaber and Shulchan Aruch paskins like Rabbeinu Tam.
Okay, now
But he lived in Eretz Yisrael, in Tzfas. In Eretz Yisrael, you see very clearly that it becomes night right after Shkia, earlier. In Europe, this is what people, the irony of it. In Europe, the Alter Rebbe and the Vilna Gaon who lived where there's a long time from after Shkia till Tzesek Yechavim, and they all paskin the halacha like the Gaonim. That's right after Shkia.
Okay, now there are two places in the Shulchan Aruch which contradict each other on this issue. Now there is a place where it's written that the Shulchan Aruch was really not written as a book of Piskei Halacha. It was written as an index to the Beit Yosef. So in the Beit Yosef, when he deals with all the different give and take, so he just in the Shulchan Aruch he just like wrote it like an index to the Beit Yosef, but it was not really made as Piskei Halacha. So therefore, the fact that this particular seif paskins like Rabbeinu Tam doesn't really mean that he paskins like Rabbeinu Tam. He's just referring, like indexing that particular place in Beit Yosef.
In Beit Yosef, he also says like Rabbeinu Tam.
No, but he doesn't paskin that way. He just deals with it.
L'maisa, the sheet of the Goinim actually doesn't even exist in the Beit Yosef. There is no such a sheet. It's ad kedei kach that this shita is that if you learn this sugya, the Gemara and the Rishonim and the Shulchan Aruch, you actually don't even, it's not even visible clearly that there is such an opinion of the Goinim. The opinion of the Goinim is really brought out by this tshuva of Ramesha Alshkar, and there's other discussions about it. But the MS, if you just learn in the Beis Yosef, it doesn't even mention such a sheet exists. Anyways, Lamaisa, let's take a look in Sifhei.
Wait. Why is it that Rabbeinu Tam's time, let's say for davening in the morning, is earlier? It's earlier, right? I think it's earlier than the Gra.
Right, but that's not based on Rabbeinu Tam. There's a machloikis when we calculate the morning. Let's say we read Kriya Shema up to 3 hours into the day, or Sman Tefillah up to 4 hours in the day. When are we calculating these hours? From dawn or from sunrise? So those that follow from dawn, it's much earlier. The ending is Man Kriya Shema. Soif is Man Kriya Shema. Those that learn from Netzach Chama, which is the Vilna Gaon and the Alter Rebbe, hold there's a later time for Kriya Shema because they calculate from Netzach Chama, from sunrise, you calculate the 3 hours to when the ending is Man Kriya Shema. That's what that Machlokes is based on.
And there's also this Dorasi, did you reach mine time or not?
Yeah. Sifhei. Zman Teisef Azeh. The Zman to add for Shabbos, to add time for Shabbos. Hilfaneh before Shabbos. Hu mitchilas hashkia. Right to the beginning of Shkia. She'ein hashemesh nidis ala oretz. That when the sun is not seen on the ground. Ad Zman bein hashmashes. Until the time of bein hashmashes. You see here clearly, like Rabbeinu Tam, that from the beginning of Shkia until the time of Bein HaShemashis, V'hu Kedei Gimel Mil and Raviyah. It's 3 mil and a quarter, right? K'shemitchilas HaShkia Tzeis Gimel Kechavim, from the beginning of Shkia until the Tzeis Gimel Kechavim, U'mahalach Dala Milan. It takes 4 mil to travel, like the Gemara Pesachim said. Bein Hashmashes u'koidim seisek yichavim mahalak gimel raviyim mil. And Bein Hashmashes precedes seisek yichavim 3/4 of a mil. What's left? Nisharu gimel mil and raviyah. 3 mil and a quarter are left mitchilas hashkia from the yeshkia until Bein Hashmashes. V'hazman is at this period of time, kemat an hour, right? Imrat zalasoy say kulei tisefes oisa. If you want to make the entire time a Tesefes for Shabbos, to add this time to Shabbos, you could. If you want to make only part of the time a Tesefes Shabbos to add and refrain from doing Malacha earlier, you could. As long as you add a certain amount of time, but when it's for sure daytime, and you don't do work, that's where you're called adding Mechel HaKodesh. Aval Bein HaShemashis, the very fact that you don't do work during Bein HaShemashis, this twilight period of time, which is Safek Yom, Safek Laila, does not constitute being Yoitz of the mitzvah's essay of Imois Mechel HaKodesh. Why? In Nashal Tesefesh, Erihu Safek Laila. It's a Safek Min HaTorah, but also by B'Malacha Min HaTorah, B'Meloi Mitzvah Tesefes. It's also for you to do any Malacha without the mitzvah of adding. So that the Torah doesn't have to tell you to add. You can't do malacha. In essence, you can't do malacha because it's essentially, no one knows when is the actual night. It's an essential, something that no one knows, and only Hashem knows. And the way He set up the world, we have no definitive time when we can put our finger on and say, this minute is the last minute of day, and this is the first minute of night. So there is always essentially a Bein HaShemashis, twilight period of time. So Lamaisa, you cannot use that time to add for Shabbos. If you want to add, you have to add preceding that time. That's when you have, on your own free will, you're accepting upon yourself more time for Shabbos.
What is better, to take off from Chol to Shabbat or from Shabbat to Chol? What's the
beginning or the ending? Beginning or the ending?
Yeah.
Pi halacha, it's the same. You should do both. You have to take a few minutes in the beginning and a few minutes in the ending. Now, this is all according to Rabbeinu Tam. According to us, according to those that follow the Go'onim Shita, as soon as it hits Shkia, it's already Bein HaShemashis. So when is this time to make this addition to Shabbos? That's before Shkia. Before Shkia. Okay. Now,
How much earlier before Shkia can you do it?
could you add? Good question. Now we're going to see right here. Very good question. The last line on page Kuf Samafes.
Be mehadrin to a lot of time.
But you can't do it so early. There's a certain amount of time you could, and up until then. You can't say, oh, I have a Shabbos in the morning, I'm already not doing malacha. No, it's not a mitzvah. I'm going to start Thursday night. It's not a mitzvah. You have a certain amount of time that you're able to add, but you can't add more.
What? Tzadikim after Chatzot, they didn't make any melacha. A lot of stories here.
Right.
And people don't travel.
Right, that's a nice thing that we do.
I think it's beautiful if you can do it.
But it's not a halacha, a mitzvah essay. This is not the mitzvah essay. This is just to stay away from Shabbos, get ready for Shabbos, get prepared early. It's beautiful, nice things. And certain things about traveling, there are halachas about doing certain things after Chatzos of Erev Shabbos. However, the mitzvah essay of adding to Shabbos, those people that are stopping to work, they're still turning on lights, they're still doing other things, right? They're just stopping to do business activities. They stop. Okay. If one wants to accept upon oneself and add Shabbos even earlier than this time, you could, as long as it's from Plag HaMincha on, which is an hour and a quarter before nightfall. The Shah or Ravi is Zmaniyes, an hour and a quarter of hours. Koydim alai before the night. Harashus biyodeh, you have permission to do that. V'nesa basis melacha, you become also doing melacha. Avil kibul koydim Plag HaMincha. If you add before Plag HaMincha, ein kabbalah klum. It doesn't mean anything. It's meaningless. Say, I accept upon myself not to do malacha before Plag HaMincha. It doesn't mean anything. Omot basiyas malacha, you can still continue to do malacha. You said mumbo jumbo. It doesn't mean anything. And only after this time period can you actually add. And you can look on the calendars, and it has a time when is the time of Plag HaMincha. And all the luachs have the zman, and those that want to go myzman.com, Chabad.org, or you can call the Zman on phone. It's a phone, they have a phone line, you can call and you can hear all the Zmanim that you want.
So the Plag HaMincha is...
You cannot accept Shabbos earlier than Plag HaMincha. And Plag HaMincha means Plag half. Plag means half, and Mincha means an hour and a quarter before nightfall.
It's not Mincha Ktana?
Mincha Ktana is 2.5 hours before Shkia. Plag HaMincha means half of that. Hour and a quarter.
That's better beer, yeah.
So what time do they accept Shabbos in Yerushalayim? Because I remember it's
40
like
minutes.
40 minutes.
40 minutes before.
Yeah, 40
Right,
minutes.
so 40 minutes is still a long time after Plag HaMincha. It's not from Plag HaMincha.
Oh, okay, right. That's okay. Then I would have to...
People that want to make an early Shabbos, it's very negaya to them. They cannot make earlier than Plag HaMincha.
Then Plag HaMincha.
You go
You
in
can't have a
Geula,
Meir earlier, like a Yehuda.
you go in Geula, you feel like 3 hours before Shabbos, already Shabbos.
Yeah, you walk around. Malchei Yisrael. You walk around.
Same thing.
Everybody's running, beginning to. You see it. You feel it. It's in the
The
air.
atmosphere already Shabbos.
Yeah,
It's
it's
beautiful.
very nice. You see the people rushing with flowers. I'm sure you're all familiar with that.
Shem Yisrael.
Very beautiful.
כל מקום.
Now, L'maisa Zoi. We are now going to learn about a third shita, which is not really spoken about so much. People don't know about it. So we always know there is Go'ainim and Rabbeinu Tam. There is really a third opinion. And the Shulchan Aruch only brings that opinion, only brings two opinions. Like we spoke in the Beis Yosef, and the Shulchan Aruch, there's only two opinions mentioned. Rabbeinu Tam, and the second opinion, the Yereim, was also one of the Baalei HaTosfos, was a Rabbi Eliezer Mimetz, from the town of Metz.
Met?
Metz, Rabbi Eliezer Mimetz, which is a town in think in Germany, and he wrote a sefer called the Yereim, and he had a different shita. And we spoke about the Goinim shita, but in reality, Shulchan Aruch itself doesn't mention even the Goinim shita. But he mentions his shita was the Yereim shita, was a different shita. His shita was that as soon as it hits our shkia, it's already tzeisa kichavim.
Shkia.
Shkia is tzeisa kichavim. Oh,
So there's no time between Shkia and Tzeis.
1 minute. Our shkia is
Tzeis.
already 3 stars,
It's
medium-sized stars, can be already visible. For
It's night.
astronomers can see these 3 stars. It's nightfall. 100% nightfall for all aspects. Big chiddush.
Shkia. Now we
Big
say
Kiddush.
18 minutes.
Right.
After.
Big chiddush. As soon as it hits shkia,
It's night.
it's nightfall according to the sheet of the way. Now, when is Bein Hashmashas period? Before shkia.
How long?
How long before shkia? How long does it take to walk a mil? 24 minutes? Some say 18, but let's say we're going with 24 minutes. Depends each shita.
So 3/4 of this.
3/4 of a mil is Bein Hashmashas. 18 minutes. 18 minutes before shkia, according to Yereim, starts Bein Hashmashas. Some people want to say that's
One
where the
second.
minute came from,
Hey,
that
one
women
second.
light 18 minutes before,
And where?
because they say, according to the Yereim's opinion, that is when Bein Hashmashas is starting.
And according to this Yereim, Shabbos finishing right when the Shkia.
Yeah?
Machal Shabbos, Mamas.
No?
So
Not
that's,
according to the
that's
Yereim.
36
Not
minutes.
according to
That
the
would be
Yereim.
scary.
Very
Not
close.
according to the Yereim.
To be Mekabel Shabbos, I understand what to be.
No one accepts the Shiti Yereim Lakula. But there were those people that were Machmir, Erev Shabbos, to take it
Yeah,
early,
that's what
like
I'm
the
saying.
Shiti Yereim. No one went to the lenient
Not
side
Tzedek
Yereim.
Kocha- not Shabbat. It's at Shabbat.
Right.
According to him, it's Shkia. It's Shabbat Yisrael. You can Machal
100%,
Shabbos.
yeah.
Scary.
Very close.
Now, the hour and a quarter, the how is Plaga Mincha calculated? According to his opinion, hour and a quarter has to be, when you figure out when Plaga Mincha is, hour and a quarter before Shkia. According to the Rabbeinu Tam, what we spoke earlier, it's an hour and a quarter before nightfall. Let's say Sekichavim. But according to his opinion, Shkia is Sekichavim. Shkia is
So an hour
Sekichavim.
and a quarter before that.
Hour and a quarter before that. We actually also make that same cheshbon
It's
for the
even
Goinim.
It's even
We do the
before
same,
Plaga Mincha,
the
probably.
same cheshbon. What?
It's probably even before Plaga Mincha.
No, that's an hour and a half. Plaga
Well, it depends. Plaga Mincha depends according to each opinion. The hour and a quarter that you go behind depends. According to the Rabbeinu Tam sheet, an hour and a quarter is before nightfall.
Right.
According to the Yereim Shita, an hour and a quarter is calculated from Shkia, from before Shkia.
I'm saying.
By the according to the Goinim, which we follow halacha lemaisa, an hour and a quarter preceding Shkia also. Hour and a quarter preceding
It's
Shkia.
before Shkia.
But it's a different reason that he did it. The Yereim did it because he held that Shkia was night. That is Seisek Yechavim. So he held Ba'etzim, he held like a Tam. You calculate Plaga Mincha an hour and a quarter from night. So he, before
what is
preceding
denied
night.
to him is
And night in
Shkia.
Shkia. According to us, the Goinim, it's an hour and a quarter before Shkia, not before night.
I never could understand how he could even have had such a Haba Amina, because as soon as the sun goes down, there's just no stars at all. It's about
Difficult sheet to understand. Now, Lamaisa, by the way, these 3 stars, and not every person can go and look up and decide what 3 average stars are. These are based on astronomers.
What is point in baiting us? Like how
Right.
you measure it?
Right. These are
One
also
might,
astronomers
that might, whatever.
who also use certain tools, telescopes, and different things. Not just every person. If you don't have such a good vision, the Alter Rebbe in the Siddur says it's only during the winter nights when the air
When
is
it's clear.
Clearance, yeah.
and someone who can see well, and he knows it's not just anyone. In the summer, there's a lot of dust in the air. The air is
You
not
don't
as
see nothing.
clear. So it's only certain evenings, certain people, sometimes can see these 3 stars. That's why we can't just go out and look outside and say, "Oh, I see 3 stars." It's too simplistic. It's not that exactly that way.
Especially
You live in Crown Heights, right?
being Enius.
That is siren before Shabbos?
Yeah.
Like here? It's beautiful. I mean, you know, you
No,
Busy.
in Chabad, they use the same Zman that's on the Luchot of the regular Luchot.
Yeah?
Yeah. Okay. So what do you base it upon?
What do you mean?
Like did you?
When is Shkia?
No. Tzeit Kochavim, the Shalashah Kochavim. Did you consult astronomers to ask?
Yeah, so basically the way how we figure out Tzeit Kichavim is we first figure out when is Tzeit Kichavim in Eretz Yisrael. That we have, the Gemara and the Shulchan Aruch all discuss Tzeit Kichavim all the times about Eretz Yisrael. That's what they were dealing with.
Okay, now
we
that
have to
itself
see.
is difficult.
We have to see the time in Eretz Yisrael, how many degrees. When we say the sun is, when the amount of time, the minutes, the Shulchan Aruch doesn't give us certain times of how long the period is. When we know in Eretz Yisrael when is Tzeit Kichavim, we have to just see at that how many degrees. We have to find out from someone who knows how many degrees below the horizon is the sun. Let's say the sun is 8 degrees below the horizon at that time.
Yeah.
The Gemara didn't use degrees,
Okay, so
right?
we should
Then we know wherever we are in the world, we use 8 degrees.
We should deal with that issue. That whole issue of degrees. That's also something which isn't artificially made. It's not something which we have a right to use. The rule is just visualizing Shalosh Kochavim. And now the thing about
some people did. Some people did visualize.
According to what it's written about in the Talmud about Eretz Yisrael, it turns out that Tzeit Kochavim, except for the ish for Rabbi Yehuda, who says Shalosh Kochavim Beinonim, but according to the other one, it comes out to be 13 minutes. About 13 minutes. Now, 13 minutes, there is no Shalosh Kochavim. But according to that, the Gemara in Shabbat, that's it.
The emes is what you're saying is a true point. He's saying is it shouldn't be based on degrees. It should be based on a visual sighting that we actually factually see the 3 stars. Most of the times, obviously, if you're going to follow the degrees, it's going to be the same time when it's visible. But there were people who have studied the stars, and they have made the cheshbonos of be'erich when it's seen, and maybe sometimes we have to add more degrees. It's also difficult because not all evenings can we see the stars. You know, it's a cloudy evening or it's a summer day. We can't ourselves physically see. We can't rely on the layman to go look up and see it.
So who are these people who?
Well, it's based on different. It's based on scientific calculations, astronomical calculations, and by figuring that out, we figure out wherever in the world when is going to be that time when the 3 medium-sized stars will be available.
Okay, so I'm asking you, like in Chabad, who are these astronomers who you consulted?
Who made the
Alter Rebbe in the Shulchan Aruch goes with degrees.
With degrees.
Yeah, Alter Rebbe in his
I
Siddur.
don't know where he gets the
Siddur.
I don't know where you can get.
Okay, well, you take a look in the Siddur. Now, Lamaisa and Eretz Yisrael, the degrees are based on. There is certain places in the world where things could depend on different variables. There could be differences. You might have to add degrees or subtract degrees.
Sure.
I'm not one who's a baki in it, but there are people that are bigger bakiyim in it. In general, b'chlal, how we follow Shkia, we don't have anyone who's watching Shkia. We follow the Navy. The Navy has a website.
Yeah, I know.
The Navy we don't know when how do we know when it's Shkia? When it's sunset.
Who made the?
We don't have people standing and watching when exactly it's sunset.
But which website?
Well, we need to know when is the physical
The
time.
Naval Observatory.
The Navy has calculations.
Mm-hmm.
When exactly?
When it's Shkia. So we don't have to actually physically go and stand and see when the body of the sun goes below. And you can actually go, they have a website, forgot what it is, but you could say nautical times, whatever it
I
is.
told you exactly everywhere in the world. When
Yeah.
it's-
But they do the luach a year ahead. How do we
They
know?
could do
Even 100
it's
years
all
ahead.
it's all calculations. It's all calculations.
I
I once communicated with the guy who does this
He
thing.
probably gets it from the.
And he could not give me a straight answer for anything.
Bawa. Bawa.
About anything.
Anything.
No.
Seems to me like he knows something.
He knows something, but all he could tell me was this is what the Gudat Rabbanim say, or this is what Moshe Feinstein said. But they are not final authorities. The final authorities are what it says in the Talmud about. First of all, this whole thing about the meal in Masechet Shabbat. It turns out to be in Eretz Yisrael. It turns out to be 13 minutes. Now, even in Eretz Yisrael today, they don't do malacha after 13 minutes. They wait for 36 minutes.
No, because I'll tell you like this. Because it's a very, very complicated subject, and we can sit here for a lot of nights about it, and it's a very complicated sugya. When Gemara said that it's a shear of 3/4 of a mil, it was not only talking about in Eretz Yisrael, it was also talking about what's called Yamim Hashavim. In days when the times of the year is 6 in the morning is 6 in the morning is sunrise, and 6 in the evening is sunset.
Yeah.
Well, the cheshbain is for only that time of the year.
Yeah.
However,
Twice.
Twice. Now, the way there is also two different calculations for a mil. According to some, a mil is 24 minutes. According to some, it's 18 minutes. We are machmir to the shita that a mil is 24 minutes. 3/4 of a mil is going to be 18 minutes, not 13.5 minutes. That's a cheshbon for 18.
Even 18 minutes.
Now,
yeah,
18 minutes, plus you have to add another 2 minutes for the shita of Rabbi Yossi, who held that his Ben Hashmasha starts after Ben Hashmasha to Yehuda. Altogether, it's 20 minutes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, in Eretz Yisrael, the Alter Rebbe held that 24 minutes after Shkia is Seisei Kichavim. How did he get an extra 4 minutes? This is in Eretz Yisrael, and only the times of the year of Tishrei, a Pesach and Sukkot time, when the day is 6 to 6. Other days it's different. It depends. So now, this Cheshbin is 24 minutes. The added 4 minutes is based on the fact that the Alter Rebbe held that there is a visible Shkia, called Shkia Hanirus, and it's called Shkia Mitis, the true Shkia. We see the sun setting. It seems that the full body of the sun is out of sight, has gone below the horizon. That's called visible Shkia. Lamaisa, if you're going to stand on top of a mountain, you're going to still see the sun. Right?
Yeah. Right.
So the Alter Rebbe said, this is based on different calculations in Gemara about the size of mountains in Eretz Yisrael. But Lamaisa, the Alter Rebbe says you have, after the visible Shkia, if you're in a valley, you have another 4 minutes. You have another 4 minutes till it's really Shkia. That's when Shkia really occurs. He refers to that as Shkia Mitis. He is from the only ones that was Mechadish this. But actually, there is already some brought in the name of Reb Chaim Volozhiner, who was a Talmud Muvik of the Vilna Gaon, who also said something similar. It was something, he said that you have to wait, you calculate after 6 minutes after Shkia, which basically seems to be something based on the similar idea of the Alter Rebbe. Lamaisa Alter Rebbe held in Eretz Yisrael, based on the Gemara, in Eretz Yisrael, and these times of the year, Tishrei and Nisan, Shkia is 24 minutes. Now, there were people in Eretz Yisrael that knew from people that were astronomers, and they knew the Inyanim, they wrote Svarim about it. They went up and they looked and they were visible and they said, that's what it is. That's what it is. Now, the rest of the year, it's not exactly that it's not that number. It changes. It changes. And the Mashal Alter Rebbe writes that in Russia, the Alter Rebbe writes, the time it takes about a half hour during those times of the year. During those times of the year, it's not 20 minutes. It's a half hour from Shkia to Tzeis, but you have to add the 4 minutes again for the Shkia near the Shkia Mitzvah. Now, the way how the Alter Rebbe, based on previous Svarim, of earlier Svarim of big from Talmidei Chacham, that were big astronomers, The Alter Rebbe bases his system, and also the Vilna Gaon, they base their system on degrees. Which means is, how do we figure out everywhere in the world with Teisei Kichavim? The Gemara is only talking about Eretz Yisrael. So how do I know everywhere in the world when is Teisei Kichavim? We look at those 24 minutes after Shkia. Where is the sun? How many degrees in Eretz Yisrael is it below the horizon? Let us say it's 8 degrees below the horizon. Let's just throwing out an example. If we say the place when the sun is 8 degrees, I mean the sun is so much below the horizon that the sky is dark enough at that point that we can see the Gimel Kichavim Beinin in Eretz Yisrael. A similar cheshbon of taking those 8 degrees and going to other areas in the world and saying that now in Russia or in Lithuania or where the Alter Rebbe and the Vilna Gaon were, or in the United States, we'll use a system of degrees to figure out when is Teisei Kichavim in that place. By the way, I want to tell you something. Those that follow the sheet of Rabbeinu Tam don't. They don't follow degrees. They follow a flat 72 minutes throughout the entire year. It's very simple. An entire year, they never change. Winter, summer, it's always 72 minutes. Lamaisa, if you follow, there is in Inyan, you can also say that Shitas Rabbeinu Tam also is based on degrees. It happens to be that all those people today, most people today, that keep the Shita Rabbeinu Tam don't follow degrees. They follow the amount of times that it comes out according to Chazal, 72 minutes, and that's it. Wherever they are in the world. It's a very difficult thing to understand.
So Tisha B'Av
Even according to Rabbeinu Tam Shita, why they do that? Because why should it always be 72 minutes? It should depend on the time of the year. It should depend. Right. The Maisa, the Moshe Feinstein held that yes, he held that you have to be machmer like Rabbeinu Tam. He held there is no one today that can make a psak din who is correct, the Gaonim or Rabbeinu Tam, and therefore he found it very difficult to understand either those who went with Rabbeinu Tam all the way,
So why Chabad
like Hungarians. He found it very difficult to understand Talmidim of the Vilna Gaon or Chabad Chassidim that followed the Alter Rebbe and the Gra all the way, because he held that something which is such a difficult shaila, there's no way to machriya who the halacha is like. You have to machmer both in the beginning of Shabbos and the ending of Shabbos. But this is a Moshe Shita. Now, but on Moshe, one thing comes with a Moshe. You would think that the ending of Shabbos, he took it out 72 minutes. No. The ending of Shabbos, he said, Rabbeinu Tam, he held that you have to go based on degrees, on the horizon. We can't just say a flat 72 minutes. We have to look factually on the ground when it says Teisei Kichavim. The Chazal, the cheshbon of 72 minutes of Rabbeinu Tam comes out in Eretz Yisrael. But what does that tell me how it's going to be anywhere else in the world? Anywhere else in the world, it could be different. So therefore, he held that he said he watched the skies for many, many evenings, and he's held that around 50 minutes. In most American cities, after 50 minutes, it's 100% dark, and you could see...
How many minutes? 50?
Around 50 minutes.
So the difference is 22
A few minutes after, depending which cities you are.
15 or 50?
50, 50.
So the difference
He
is
held that
22
is Rabbeinu Tam in America. That is the Shita Rabbeinu, not 72. Obviously, most people that are following Rabbeinu Tam are not following that Shita.
Rabbeinu Tam
But a
lived.
Moshe Shita has some sense to it, because he's timing that we shouldn't be following just a flat 72 minutes. And those that follow the Gaonim Shita, it's not connected, by the way. There's two machlokes. Machlokes you pass like Gaonim Rabbeinu Tam. We're getting complicated over here. Whether or not Bein HaShemasha starts immediately after Shkia or close to an hour after Shkia. That's the machlokes Rabbeinu Tam and Gaonim. There's a separate issue here, is how do you calculate those times? And that has nothing to do. It happens to be that the Alter Rebbe and the Vilna Gaon, they both paskin like the Gaonim Shita, that Bein HaShemasha is immediately after Shkia. And thereby the time between Shki and Seis is much shorter. And number two, they also held that you follow degrees. It's not a flat rate around the whole world. We have to figure out in every place, in that place itself, when the sun reaches that point, where it would have been Al Derech and Eretz Yisrael, below the horizon, that amount of time, a space below the horizon, that's when it's going to be Teisei Kichavim in that spot. But those that are following Rabbeinu Tam today, are not following that mahalach of degrees. they're following a flat rate of 72 minutes.
Even in Israel, even in Israel.
First of all,
Right?
Even in Israel. If you look at the calendar,
First of all, this union of degrees is something which the astronomers were mechadesh. It's not found in the Talmud. So you can't use that.
That's what Hagen says like that. Hagen says like that.
Okay, so you can't use that.
So what does the Hagen say to do?
You can't use that as
He wrote a letter to somebody, Leo Lee.
You can't use that.
Right, yeah. In that book,
I have the book in my house.
I have the book also.
He writes you see
That's the first thing.
You can't mix in astronomy.
So what does he say to do?
That's the first
Says
thing.
you don't use the
How's he going to make the cheshbon?
I don't know. He writes about it in the Sefer also.
He could be goes like Rabbeinu Tam, so he'll make the
He
cheshbon.
writes about it in the Sefer.
in Israel itself, from one place to the other place, the
first
Shkia
of
is
all-
different. When the Gemara talk, right, the Shkia. In Eretz
Yeah.
Israel, Yerushalayim is one place, Tel Aviv is
Sure.
one place, Haifa is
Sure.
one place.
Shkia, everything
Shkia.
is relative.
So in Israel itself, you see that the Shkia is.
You see,
So the issue of degrees is something which the astronomers mechadesh.
We accept it.
It's not something. Degrees is just an easy method how to adapt things.
And anyway, unless you have proper instruments to figure it out, you can't possibly know where the degrees are unless you have certain astronomical instruments to be able to.
Right, there is astronomy.
Okay, today there are, but
Not only today, there's been around for a long time.
I don't think these instruments were around in the time of Rabbeinu Tam. Maybe
In the Hanami, you know what? You have two ways to figure it out. There's an easier way with degrees. If you want to figure it out the harder way, you have to be an astronomer.
Okay.
Wait, this is Rishonim already right. The Rami Rottenberg, one of the
Easy
Rishonim,
way for the truth.
the Rameir Mirottenberg, the Manami Rottenberg already wrote how we know how to figure out. In a Hanami, this is just an easier method. Baruch Hashem, we have technology. We have paper. We have phones. We have things that can help us a lot with things. Degrees is not a possible thing. It's just that the other way to do it would be that we would just have people coming and looking at the sky, and people that are astronomers and making by looking and seeing on those clear nights and figuring it out and making calculations. There's different methods of coming to the same ends. It's not a different. There's no the end is the same. The question is the means that we get there to that end.
How would Rabbeinu Tam say in the last you said that the sun didn't evolve, but you have a whole Kiddush HaChodesh talks about the sun evolving.
So it's a very big shaila on the Rabbeinu Tam Shita. A very big shaila on Rabbeinu Tam Shita. But there is ways how to answer Rabbeinu Tam Shita, how it would fit with the Shita that's accepted in Gemara, that the sun revolves. It's not a shaila from now. It's a shaila already that Rabbeinu Tam is going against a clear Gemara in Pesachim. So this is a very big shaila in Rabbeinu Tam, and there have been a number of svarim to explain answers given on how to explain Shita Rabbeinu Tam, how it fits.
Is it that Alter Rebbe gave a shir in Kiddush HaChodesh when he before his bar mitzvah or something like that?
Yeah.
It's a story.
It was 11, I think.
A long shir.
The story